We'll start with a quick summary of how to install the tool. The Offshore Wind Energy Facilities Emission Estimating Tool is available for download from BOEM's website. The User's Guide and technical documentation is also available on the Stakeholder Engagement website. Clicking on the link downloads a zip file. Installation of the tool is as simple as unzipping the file on your computer or shared network drive. The unzipped folder contains several subfolders, one of which contains documentation of a copy of the user's guide and also templates for import and export from the tool. Please keep the directory structure intact for proper tool operation. The first time you open the tool, you will have to click the Enable Macros button for the wind energy tool to operate properly. For your convenience, you can create a shortcut to easily access the tool from anywhere. We'll go over the main landing screen that opens up when the tool opens. It has several options available to you. You can open the user's guide directly from the tool. You can start a new project or open an existing project and make edits. You can also clear all the data out of the tool or delete an existing project from the tool or exit the tool. There's a maintenance button, but that is restricted access and is for BOEM use only. You can click the User's Guide from this menu and open a PDF copy of the User's Guide. This can be very handy as you use the tool, as the table of contents is hyperlinked and allows you to jump to any section at any time to get detailed instructions and screenshots to help you work through the tool. We'll start the demo by walking through a new project. It'll be example data. You start by clicking the Start New Project button, and that'll open a new screen to enter the project details. Each screen will have a button at the top to open the user's guide from the tool. There's also the option to save and exit the tool. This will save your data and can be edited at a later time. First, you're asked to enter the BOEM lease number associated with the project and a common name for the project. The project ID field is an auto-populated field, which is used within the database for internal processing only. Next, you're asked to enter the estimated dates associated with when the construction and operation will start, followed by estimated dates of decommissioning. Clicking any one of the boxes brings up a calendar to select the date. There are green arrows to toggle between the months and the year beside the drop-down menus. Or you can use the drop-down feature to jump to a month or a year. The tool does accommodate several different date ranges and can go out to 2110. Next, enter the distance to the port closest to the installation. Next, you select the state and name of the port. Selecting a state from the drop-down automatically pairs the next drop-down to the major ports in this state. If the port you want is not in the list, you can add a port using the button on the right. Clicking the Add Port button opens a new window for data entry. You can enter the port information manually or import multiple ports at once using the button on the top left. A template for importing the information is in the template directory where the Wind Energy tool is installed. After the port information is entered, hit Save Record. You can enter additional ports or choose to review and accept the ports to be added using the Review button at the center of the screen. Click the button at the left to close the form without saving, and the button at the right to save the new ports. Next, enter the number of turbines to be installed. Finally, enter the location of the centroid of the installation. This information is used in the emission calculations, which we will discuss in a moment. When done, click Go to Company Details and Save to move to the next. The next tab allows you to enter company information. You can select previously entered information from the drop-down menu at the top of the page. To enter a new company, check the New Contact box and enter the required information for the company. The tool will save this information and automatically add it to the drop-down menu. It will be available for use the next time you use the Wind Energy tool. When done, click Go to Contact Details to save the record and move to the next tab. The Contact Details tab is used to enter the primary contact information for the project. This is used for any follow-up questions on the data submitted. Similar to the company information, you can select previously entered contacts from the drop-down menu at the top of the page. To enter a new contact, check the New Contact box and enter the required information. Information includes name, the role in the project, and contact information such as email and phone number. Again, the tool will save new contact information entered and make it available for future use in the Wind Energy tool. When done, you can click Save and go to Facility Inputs to begin to enter the equipment information. You also have the option to clear the form at this time. Saving the contact information will take you to the main Wind Energy Tools screen. Again, there's a button at the top to open the user's guide from the tool, as well as the option to save and exit the tool. There is now a third button to return to the main screen, which is the first screen that opens after the tool opens. You can go back to edit the project information via the Step 1 Project Info tab. Here you can review all the information, and the button at the top allows you to return to the entry screens to make any edits. The Step 2 Inputs tab is the gateway to the equipment and activity input screens. Through this tab, you do have the option to import offshore inputs, such as the vessel parameters, or enter them manually. Clicking the Import Offshore Inputs button opens a file browser window that allows you to navigate to a pre-populated file. The Templates folder included in the install package contains a template for the import file, as well as example files for you. Once the import is complete, a pop-up window will open to let you know the data can be reviewed, or you can move on to the next step in the process. You can review the imported equipment by clicking the Review Imported Equipment button or the manual entry screens. The Review button will open a separate window that will list all the equipment imported into the tool in a tabular format. You can close the form with the button at the top. You can also edit the offshore equipment manually. The Enter Offshore Inputs button opens a separate window with tabs for each phase of the installation. Helicopters are on a separate tab with substations on the final tab. You can use the navigation buttons at the bottom of the screen to review records imported into the tool. You can also choose to enter additional equipment at this time. Emission Source Box offers a drop-down menu of the acceptable equipment types, and similar to the Project Informations tab, you are asked to provide a port for each piece of equipment. This allows you to specify a port for each vessel in case a specialty vessel only comes from a certain point. This information is used in allocating the emissions within 25 miles of a state, and a new port can also be added at this time if the port is not one of the major ports in our current list. You are also asked to enter the distance from the installation centroid to the port. For distances greater than 50 miles, you can include the distance the vessel travels, that is both outside the 25-mile radius of the installation and the 25-mile radius from the state. These distances are used in the emission calculation. Use the lower half of the form to enter vessel parameters. You can check the box to use default parameters, which will auto-populate in the screen. You can also enter custom values to use in the emission calculations. To save your new record, click the Save Record button at the bottom of the screen. You have the option to review all the data in a tabular format by clicking on the Review button at the right of the screen. You can close the form with the button at the top right. Once completed, click Save and go to Next to move to the next tab. The vessel entry tabs for each phase of installation work similarly. Data entry for all 4 phases for helicopters are on the same tab and are presented in tabular form. They can be edited and added to, similar to an Excel spreadsheet. There's a pull down for the helicopter type and port information. Again, the distance to port from the installation centroid is used in emission calculations. You can check the box to use default speed in the emission calculations, and it will be pre-populated in the tab. The final tab is the Substation and Generator tab. It is pre-populated with defaults that can be changed. Once completed, the Substation, Save, and Go to Main button will return you to the Step 2 tab on the main Wind Energy Tool window. You can also return through the button at the top. The final button on the Inputs tab is opens the Avoided Emissions window. This allows you to enter information on where the installation will tie into the electrical grid, so the emissions avoided at traditional power plants by using clean energy can be calculated. These emissions are calculated for the whole lifetime of the project based on the dates entered in the project information screen. On this screen, the project ID and name are included for informational purposes. After entering the total rated power for the installation, you can enter the zip code for the location of the grid tie-in. After doing this, the eGrid region will populate in the next box. This can be changed if you would like to specify a different region. When done, click Save and go to Next to go to the Review tab in the main window. The third tab in the Wind Energy Tool provides a summary of the data elements that have been entered. In this example, you can see which phase had vessels and helicopter emission activity data entered, and that the avoided and substation information was entered as well. You have the option of reviewing a detailed list of the equipment from the screen by clicking the Review Entered Equipment button. If you are satisfied with the entered equipment, you can click the Calculate Emissions button to execute the code to calculate emissions. After clicking a button, a pop-up will appear to let you know the calculations are complete, and you can move on to the 4th tab to review the emissions data. From the 4th tab, you can open a summary table that provides a top-level total project, avoided, and net emissions for each pollutant calculated within the tool. The hope is the operator can gauge if there's a significant entry error from the summary and return to the Inputs tabs to edit or re-enter data. Positive net change indicates an increase in emissions, and a negative net change indicates a reduction in emissions. And all values are presented in metric tons. The tab also contains an export button, which will produce an Excel file of the results and various inputs for submission with the plan. Clicking the button opens a browser window that will let you navigate to a saved location. The default location is the Wind Energy Tools install directory. The default name of the file is the word export with the lease number and the save date. This can be changed to whatever you would like. After you save, a pop-up will appear to reiterate the save location. The export file consists of 5 tabs. The first tab is the Total Emissions tab, which is a summary of vessel emissions by phase. It also contains identifying project data and contact information. The first table is Total Vessel Emissions, which is the total vessel emissions for the project. The second table is emissions within 25 miles of the installation. The lower tables are emissions within 25 miles of the individual states identified by their port. The third table includes the emissions that are offshore but not within 25 miles of the installation. This is based on the extra distance that's added on the vessel screens. The second tab is the Emission Output tab. It's a summary of emissions by phase and by source, including the avoided emissions. And it's broken out by within 25 miles of the platform and outside. The next tab is the Inputs tab, which is the activity inputs for the onshore sources. There's a separate table for vessels and helicopters. The next tab is Vessel Stats, which summarizes the vessels in the plan. And the final tab is the Emission Factors, which lists all the emission factors used in the calculations and the global warming potential is used for all the CO2e calculations. After that, you can return to the Wind Energy tool, and you can select to start a new project from the very beginning, or you can also select to return to the main screen, which will allow you to open a previous project. This screen has a drop-down for all the projects available within the tool.